Hello, everyone. Today, on behalf of the Bridge Kaua'i to College, what I'd like to do is initiate a series of videos having to do with the general concept of time management, which is extraordinarily important, or at least it's an extraordinarily important concept to new college students, because you get barraged with all kinds of stuff and assignments, and you need to sort of manage it in somewhat of a formal way. So again, to reemphasize, as a student, as a new student, time management is a precious, or time is a precious commodity, and the ability to effectively manage time is a critical parameter in the success of a student, given the level of complexity and the number of courses and the hours that need to be spent in classes and labs, etc. So what I will begin this sort of series of videos with a discussion, or my discussion today will focus on at least three things. Well, first we'll get into the challenges associated with time management. And then the good news is there's some relatively simple techniques which will foster good, positive time management skills, which, take some learning, take some getting used to, but we'll get into some of those today. Some of the techniques are, you need to spend a few minutes every day just evaluate it. What am I going to do today? How am I going to do it? Where am I going to fit it into my schedule? So you need to spend a few minutes of every day saying, what's my time management philosophy for today? What's my time management perspective, and how am I going to go forward with sound time management skills? So you need to do that a little bit. So you need to spend 5 minutes a day kind of figuring this all out. It's then very useful, or essentially it's required, that you have in a semi-formal or maybe even formal way a monthly calendar, that on December 5th I'm going to do this, on the 6th I'm going to do this, on the 12th I'm going to do this. So you need a monthly calendar, and then to narrow that down a little bit, for every day of the month, for Monday, December 4th, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do this. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do this. At 10 o'clock in the morning, etc. So you need both a forward-looking calendar that looks at the whole month and helps you keep things in perspective. And then on a daily basis, you need to manage your tasks so you don't get overwhelmed by one task at the expense of another. Because that is a very, very common problem in college, is that there's so much going on that easily one task can overwhelm other things, and the net effect is you don't do well on accomplishing any of the tasks. Okay, so the idea of having a formal monthly calendar and a daily block of time calendar is important. And then we're going to fall into sort of the biggest pitfall of time management, is this issue of procrastination. You kind of say, no, I don't have to do this task today. I can do it tomorrow. I could do it at the end of the week. Then before you know it, that task, which maybe had a medium priority, all of a sudden becomes a high priority, and it bumps other tasks. So you need basically to fight this idea of procrastination, and that you have to do on a daily basis, and you have to do it conscientiously. And procrastination just sets in if you're not conscious of what procrastination is all about. And then in a future video, we'll also talk about some study tips. Where is it best to study? When is it best to study? How long to study? So just in review thus far, sort of the first element that we'll talk about is how to manage your time and spend a few minutes every day managing your time. The second thing we'll talk about is declaring war on procrastination. And then in another, probably a third video, we'll talk about study tips and choose where and when and how to study to maximize the effectiveness of your studying. Okay, so what are the challenges of time management? So we're talking about time management, why? Why is it important? Well, if you compare college to high school, college, obviously the academic material is more sophisticated than it is. In college, it's more sophisticated than it was in high school. It's more difficult to master. And at the same time, the professors that you're working with at college are going to expect more from you than your high school teachers. Okay, so you're in college, you're kind of the cream of the crop of your high school class has made it to college. Now the professors understand that, and they're going to be a little tougher on you. So it's important. Material's more difficult, and the professors are going to expect more. So in the problem, and kind of the essence of time management, the problem is not the amount of available hours you have, but how do you spend each hour? So each hour is, you sleep for 8 hours and you're up for 16 hours a day, but each of those 16 hours needs to have something in it that's going to help you accomplish your objectives. So you need a time management strategy. And at the end of the day, the work you're going to accomplish, the positive results you're going to generate are really a function of the time you spent. I spent 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, times the intensity of the focus that you put in that. So if you only have an hour to spend on a particular subject, you need to make sure your intensity of your focus on that subject is pretty much absolute. So the work you accomplish is a function of how long you can spend on it, the time you spend on it, times the intensity of the focus. So a key element of all of this is to have a realistic sense of time. And what that actually means is you need to, on a daily basis, to have a schedule that this hour I'm going to do this, and this hour I'm going to do that, and this hour I'm going to do that. So you need to have a daily calendar. Then you need to look forward later in the week, later in the month, next month, 2 months from now, at the end of the semester. So you need to be able to manage time both in the sort of immediate term and in the longer term. And a key element in all of this is there's so many things happening in college. There's so many interactions you're going to have. There's so many classes that you need to write stuff down. You need to either write it down on hard copy on a piece of paper or jot it down in some kind of electronic journal. But the point is, you can't just have ideas rattling around in your head. You're not going to remember that 2 Tuesdays from now, you have to submit a biology field report. You got to write that down somewhere and where you can recover it, you can refer back to it. So what I'm going to do, and I hope this is effective, the first thing you need to do is have a monthly calendar. So I'm going to hold up in front of you a monthly calendar. And this would be, obviously, that this was the month of September, but what you need to do is fill these blocks of time on a monthly calendar, in advance. So when you get to your first class and they say, well, the first homework is due on Tuesday, September 22nd, you've got that block down on your calendar. So again, this can be a hard copy calendar like this one, a piece of paper where you jot things down, or it can be your cell phone. You can communicate with Siri and you can tell Siri, well, put this down. But how do you can almost prepare this monthly calendar like for the whole semester, the day you walk into class for the first semester, because most classes have online something called a syllabus. And what a syllabus is generally something that's posted online as a part of the sort of maybe the website for the class that you're involved in. But a syllabus is pretty much an outline of the topics and things you're going to be working on during the class. So a syllabus will say lecture 1 is this, lecture 2 is this, lecture 3 is this, but homework 1 is due on this date, homework 2 is due on this date. We're going to have an exam on that date. So for each class, you're going to have a syllabus, and you should sit down with the syllabus well in advance of any given month and fill out your monthly calendar with items from the syllabus of the course. And again, this should be available online. I worked at a university as a professor, and it was required that I post the syllabus in advance of the class so students could follow along. So important to have a monthly calendar that includes important things like, when your first chemistry exam is, when your first homework is due in your math class. But then you can jot down stuff like on Saturday there's going to be a football game, on the following Saturday there's going to be a concert. So you have this monthly calendar where you're putting down important elements for your class as well as social things. Going to go to so-and-so's birthday party is going to be on Tuesday night, that kind of thing. So that can be on your monthly calendar. Then at the same time, what you're going to need on a daily basis is a calendar, and I don't know how visible this is, but a calendar that looks like this. This is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. And here's where you're going to have to put down, I have an exam on Thursday, on Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm going to study for that exam. So this is where you put down stuff almost on a daily basis. You need to be revising and checking on your daily time block. So again, very, very, very important to keep track of time, to have a long range vision of time, but have a shorter range vision in addition to that. Because again, so many things happen when you're taking classes in college. The unfortunate fact of the matter is you might be taking 4, 5, or 6 classes. These classes meet 2 or 3 times a week. Some classes have laboratories. So you're on a weekly basis managing 20, 30, or 40 hours of time, and you need to have a formal process to basically keep track of that all. So hopefully that makes sense. And so this is kind of the first element of our discussion of time management, is to have some formalized process, some calendars and some schedules where you can actually jot stuff down. And again, this can be hard copy on a piece of paper, or it can be electronic. So hopefully this makes sense, and time management is an essential skill for success in college.